Inflation Today for June 4th, 2021. I've got two articles today. One is recent from yesterday, and one is actually a couple months old. And both of these articles kind of attempt to conceal the fact of what's really going on. And what's going on is countries are dumping treasuries. Treasury bonds, US Treasury bonds. That's the global reserve asset. Supposed to be the most desirable asset in the world. And Russia is dumping them, but that's not what this article says on the summary of it here. What it says is they'll be eliminating US dollars from its reserves. But if you dig a little bit deeper into the article, it says that this is mirroring a similar move by the country's central bank to reduce assets held in American currencies. Well, those assets are treasury bonds. So they are dumping bonds, and this is what happened back in March. You might remember when we had this interest rate fiasco. Interest rates on the 10-year treasury bond, what we're talking about here today, had doubled, which is a very serious move for just a couple months. Having interest rates double, that's they were calling it a possible catastrophe, but it did stop, and that happened because Japan stopped dumping those bonds because presumably they ran out of bonds to dump. And they said, okay, well, it's fixed now. It's not, because Japan has stopped dumping bonds. But what I was saying at the time is, well, other countries are going to want to dump this garbage into the ocean too. Japan is just the first one out the door, so good for them. They're smart. They pay attention. And now Russia's going to do it, and Russia's smart. And then it's going to be more countries doing it, and more and more and more. And this thing is going to fall off the cliff so hard. It's like the Wile E. Coyote over the cliff. It's going to fall so hard that it's going to make these interest rates look like kindergarten. So I talked about this first article, this Russian article, where you have to dive in a little bit to figure out that they are in fact dumping assets, not just the little expense account of US dollars they have. Japan did this too, but the way they framed this article is they called them foreign bonds. So rather than admit that Japanese investors are dumping US treasuries, they call them foreign bonds because I guess technically America, if you're in Japan, America is technically a foreign country, but you wouldn't call them foreign bonds if you were trying to tell the truth about something, because they are the global reserve asset. So this is a fairly important story, I think. It kind of flew under the radar, but basically this is just another country that's starting to de-dollarize. And they say here in the first article, taking place not only in our country, but also in many countries across the world, which have begun to experience concerns about the reliability of the main reserve currency. That's right. So it's de-dollarization. It's something that countries have been trying to do since the 90s. But now they're going to start getting away with it. And that means basically the end for the US dollar. There's no other place for the US dollar to go. So